Bloody hell, mate, have you ever seen a more humiliating display than Donald Trump trying to strong-arm Australia like we're some backyard cousin desperate for a barbecue invite? The bloke struts around the UN, chest puffed out like a rooster in heat, and thinks he can bully Anthony Albanese into towing his line. But here's the kicker, Albo didn't flinch. He stood his ground, backed our values, and gave Trump exactly what he deserved, the cold shoulder. And that, my friends, has sent shockwaves right through Washington. The so-called leader of the free world, reduced to sulking because one Aussie PM wouldn't bow and scrape? Utterly humiliating for Trump, not for us. Before we wrap up this Trump-Albanese showdown, where Albo left Trump red-faced, gave him the cold shoulder, and Sky News had a meltdown, smash that like button like you're smacking down Trump's climate lies. Subscribe if you're done with American bullies telling Aussies how to run our country. And grab the Who Voted for This shirt, links in the description. Now, the media clowns in the US, and even a few here at home, are acting like Albo's the problem. They're screaming that Australia's snubbing its closest ally, as if we're meant to sit there quietly while Trump rants about climate change being a hoax and gushes over dictators. Give me a break. This isn't about some teenage crush where we're begging for attention. This is about standing tall on the world stage and saying, no mate, we're not selling out our principles just to keep the Americans happy. And if Trump can't handle that, it's on him, not us. Think about this for a sec. Trump calls climate change the biggest con job in history. Meanwhile, Australia's choking through heatwaves, floods, and bushfires that would make hell look like a winter holiday. And here's Albo, finally putting us on the map as a country serious about clean energy, promising 62 to 70% emissions cuts by 2035. That's leadership. That's guts. And what does Trump do? He sneers, pulls America out of the Paris Agreement, and tells us we'll fail if we keep pushing renewables. Mate, we've been failed enough by American politics. We don't need to be dragged backwards just to soothe Trump's ego. And let's not sugarcoat it. Trump's little tantrum isn't just about climate policy. He's rattled because Albo had the guts to recognize Palestine at the UN. For decades, American presidents, especially Trump, have treated the Middle East like their personal chessboard, moving pieces around without caring about the actual people caught in the crossfire. But Albo? He stood up and said what no Aussie PMs dared say at that level, that Palestinians deserve recognition, that peace isn't just about arming Israel to the teeth and turning a blind eye to the suffering of ordinary families. Of course, Trump hated it. Of course, he ranted about hostages and terrorism like he's the lone sheriff in town. But for once, Australia wasn't just parroting the American line. We were carving out our own voice, our own moral stance. That's a bloody big deal. You know what really cracks me up though? The pundits in Trump's camp keep calling Albo embarrassing, saying his speech was flat and lifeless. Meanwhile, Trump's up there bragging about how he supposedly ended 7 wars in 7 months, like he's some kind of messiah. That's not leadership. That's spin so wild it'd make a used car salesman blush. And the thing is, Aussies aren't dumb. We can smell nonsense from a mile away. We know when someone's putting on a show, and right now, Trump looks like a clown desperate for applause, while Albo looks like the steady hand we actually need. And here's the uncomfortable truth the American media doesn't want to admit. Trump needs Australia more than we need him. Yeah, we're allies, mates, ANZUS and all that. But this relationship only works if there's respect on both sides. Trump thinks respect means obedience. He's dead wrong. Respect means standing shoulder to shoulder, not kneeling at the altar of American exceptionalism. And by pushing back, Albo's showing that Australia's not a pushover anymore. We're not just the little brother tagging along at the big boys' table. We've got our own seat, our own voice, and we're bloody well going to use it. And before the critics jump in, let's be clear. This isn't about hating America. Australians get along with Americans just fine. But Trump's America? That's a different beast. It's arrogant, it's self-serving, and it treats allies like pawns. That's why Albo's stand is so powerful. It's a reminder that we don't need to dance to Washington's tune every time they play the fiddle. We can call the shots, back our values, and still hold our own in the world without licking the boots of a bloke who spends more time golfing than governing. What's got Trump truly rattled is the optics. Imagine the scene, Albo at the UN, talking about climate, peace, fairness, and dignity, while Trump sits there fuming, arms crossed like a kid who's been told he can't have another slice of cake. Cameras catch it all. The contrast couldn't be starker. On one side, vision. On the other, vanity. On one side, hope. On the other, hubris. And when the history books are written, no one's going to remember Trump's petty sulks. They'll remember that Australia found its spine and stood tall. But of course, the Murdoch media and Trump's fanboys here at home want you to believe this is some catastrophic diplomatic meltdown. Albo's isolating Australia. They cry. We'll lose America's protection. Spare me the drama. The reality is, America needs partners who speak honestly, not lapdogs who nod along. And if Trump's too fragile to handle a bit of honesty from down under, that's his problem. It's not our job to babysit his ego. Now, here's where it gets spicy. Rumor has it, behind closed doors, Trump's been fuming about not getting a proper meeting with Albo. Can you imagine the leader of the so-called free world, chasing after selfies and photo ops, only to be politely brushed aside by an Aussie PM who's got bigger fish to fry? That's the real humiliation. Not for us, for him. And it's about bloody time. Trump's biggest problem right now isn't China, Russia, or even the chaos he's stirring back home. It's the fact that Anthony Albanese just exposed him for what he really is on the world stage. A bully who's lost his bite. You could see it in Trump's face at the UN, the way he glared across the hall while Albo spoke about climate and peace as if the bloke had personally insulted his golf swing. For a man who thrives on control, humiliation cuts the deepest. And the truth is, this wasn't just about politics, it was about pride. Trump's not used to allies saying no. He's used to being flattered, pampered, treated like royalty. But Albo gave him none of that. He treated him like just another politician. And that's what stung. The beauty of this whole saga is how ordinary Aussies are reacting. Instead of clutching pearls about damaging the alliance, people are saying, finally, we've got a PM who isn't afraid to speak his mind. For too long, Aussie leaders have bent over backwards to please American presidents, no matter how ridiculous their demands. Remember when John Howard basically turned us into America's +1 in Iraq? Or when Morrison was practically begging Trump for a dinner invite? Those days are gone. Albanese isn't here to play court jester for Washington. He's here to lead Australia, and if that means bruising a few egos across the Pacific, so be it. And the thing about Trump's America is, it's all take and no give. He bangs on about allies paying their fair share, but when disaster hits us, where's he? During the Black Summer bushfires, Australians were choking on smoke, losing homes, watching wildlife get wiped out. Did Trump rush in with aid? Nope. He was too busy tweeting about himself. But now he's throwing tantrums because Albo won't nod along to his climate denial. That's rich. That's like your neighbor ignoring you when your house burns down, but demanding a beer from your fridge the moment he pops round. What Albo's really doing here is redefining what it means to be an ally. It's not about obedience, it's about respect. And respect cuts both ways. When Trump sneers at climate action, he's not just mocking scientists and activists, he's mocking the Australians who've lived through floods and fires, who've buried loved ones, who've rebuilt again and again. Albo's saying to the world, we hear our people. We believe them. We're acting. And if the US president doesn't like it, tough luck. And let's not forget Trump's obsession with walls and borders. He calls migration a threat, while Albo points out that Australia is a nation built by migrants. Sure, immigration comes with challenges, but it's also what's kept our country vibrant and diverse. Trump sees migrants as invaders. Albo sees them as part of the solution. And that difference isn't just policy, it's worldview. One sees fear, the other sees opportunity. And that's why Trump hates him. Because Trump thrives on fear. Take away the fear, and you take away his power. Now here's the part that really ruffles feathers. Palestine. Trump and his backers have painted Albo as some naive dreamer for recognizing Palestine. They say he's rewarding terrorism. But let's be honest, how long have we been pretending the status quo works? How long have Palestinians been told to wait, to suffer quietly while the world looks away? Albo's move wasn't about endorsing extremists, it was about recognizing people's right to exist. And for Trump, who only ever cared about the photo op with Netanyahu or the deal that made him look good, that was too much to handle. He can't stand someone else taking the moral high ground, especially when it's a bloke from down under who's been fighting for this cause since his uni days. You want to talk about humiliation? How about this? While Trump's out there demanding loyalty, Albo's building genuine respect from smaller nations, the very countries Trump mocks and dismisses. At the UN, Albo wasn't just speaking to America, he was speaking to the Pacific, to Africa, to Asia. He was reminding the world that middle powers like us matter. And that's what Trump can't stomach. He wants the stage to himself. But here comes Australia, stealing the spotlight, and he's left sulking in the shadows. And here's the kicker. Trump's hissy fits aren't just bad optics, they're bad strategy. Every time he trashes an ally for daring to disagree, he weakens America's hand. Meanwhile, Albo's playing the long game. By showing independence, he's proving Australia isn't just a tag along. We're a player in our own right. That makes us more valuable, not less. Other nations see it, respect it, and that puts us in a stronger position globally. Trump's too blinded by his ego to realize he's making America look desperate, while Albo's making Australia look confident. And maybe that's the biggest lesson here. Leadership isn't about bluster. It's not about shouting the loudest or boasting about imaginary wins. It's about standing firm when it counts. Albo did that at the UN. He didn't just defend our policies, he defended our dignity. And for a country that's too often been treated like America's sidekick, that's a massive shift. One that ordinary Aussies are proud of, even if the talking heads on Sky News aren't. So where does this leave Trump? Fuming, flailing, and fumbling. He can't bully us, can't buy us, and can't break us. And every time he tries, he only exposes himself more. The image of a US president chasing validation from an Aussie PM will haunt him for years. Because once the illusion of invincibility cracks, it's gone. And Albo, without even trying, just cracked it wide open. And to those who say this will hurt the alliance, think again. Alliances built on fear don't last. Alliances built on honesty and mutual respect do. Albo's not burning bridges, he's strengthening them by making sure they're built on solid ground. Trump's just too arrogant to see it. At the end of the day, this is bigger than Trump. This is about Australia finally realizing its own power, its own voice, and its own path. We don't need to be America's echo. We don't need to bow to bluster. We can lead in our own right. And that's exactly what Albo's showing the world. See you in the next one. And don't forget to smack that like button like it just tried to tell you climate change is a hoax while your backyard's flooding. And if you're really fired up, grab the "Who voted for this" shirt, wear it to the next climate rally, the next town hall, or just your local pub when someone reckons Trump's still the boss of the free world. Stay bold, stay cheeky, and never stop backing the Australia that stands tall, speaks loud, and refuses to be anyone's lapdog.